Now it's called Windows for a reason, because everything in it, everything that you see is a window, right? And I'm going to open some windows. Come on, you. I'll have you. And I'll have you. And I'll have you. These are all windows, right? Everything that you use in Windows is a window, and they're all, every window has a parent. So that all of these windows, their parent is the main window, and that's the main window. And in Microsoft land, every rule has an exception. So that all of these windows that I just showed, all of these windows don't have anything at the bottom, but the main window has this thing across the bottom called the taskbar. Right? The main window is entirely different from the rest, the mother of all windows. But a standard window, well, there's no such thing anymore as a standard window, because over the years, Microsoft kept changing what the standard window looked like. Modern standard window looks like, where are we? Looks like that, right? And it's got these decorations here, it's got a bar across the top, it's got a menu and so on. However, an old standard window that they used to have could have windows in it. This is a PIC programming environment, and every one of these windows has got windows in it, but I can't move those windows out of the parent window. See that? Whereas the modern windows, if I bring up a daughter window like that, I can move it out with, I can move it behind, I can do all manner of stuff. The problem here is that Microsoft keep trying to improve it. And as they keep trying to improve it, they can't let yesterday's stuff go away because somebody's using that. If they say, those types of windows no longer work, then that breaks all these programs that were written to accommodate those types of windows. And so you have to have all these old standard Windows environments as well, as the standard for what a window is and evolves. The more modern one, let's me go to these browsers. I'll bring that back up. You have a window that can have multiple tabs. This is a standard browser. This is Firefox browser, and it's got 3 different tabs all open. And that's the current way of doing it. Whereas beforehand, you saw there used to be lots of windows that you had open inside the one environment. But apart from having multiple tabs open, I can still have multiple windows open. There's another browser. It's the same browser. It's got different tabs open, but I've now got 2 editions, 2 versions, 2 browsers open at the same time. It can be really, really confusing. Now, just to add to the confusion, there's a window, and a window can spawn another window, right? So there's a spawned window. The problem that you can have here is that the spawned window, let me open that, can go, look at that, the spawned window is now visible, the window its parent is hidden. So there's lots of ways of getting really confused, but there's one way of keeping up with it. And the way of keeping up with it is this taskbar across the bottom. Another thing that happens is a thing called a dialogue. Wait till you see this. That there is a dialogue where a program has something to say to you and it pops it up. But it always pops it up in the middle of the screen. Now, where your program happens to be, irrespective, doesn't matter. I can put that program way down there and the pop-up still pops up in the middle. And people lose windows because they're popping things up. And the other thing that you have to worry about is, this is what's called having focus. I'm going to bring a browser up and I'll bring an Arduino up. Arduino has now got focus. The one that's focused, the text in the command bar there at the top is dark. The one that doesn't have focus is greyed out. And when it gets focused, the one with focus comes to the top, and its task, but the bar at the top becomes easy to read. And the one that's not good focus goes to the back, and its bar becomes greyed out, becomes difficult to read. The problem there is that if I do that with the pop-up message again, that I can get to the situation where I can see that, but I can't use it. Maybe, I don't know if you can hear that going ding, ding, ding in my microphone, but I'm not allowed to touch form 1 there because this needs answered about the printer being on fire. Once I've got rid of that, I can get back in here and use this again. However, some browser windows are made exactly the same way. There's a browser window that I'm not, a window that I'm not allowed to go back to it or go back anywhere else until I've answered that dialogue. It's called a modal dialogue. But the way to check is to look down here at the taskbar. Right, now what I'm going to do is that little bit of magic, take myself down and show you the taskbar. There's one of those, whatever it is, open. There's 2 of those. Do you see it looks like 2 little Firefox things stacked on top of each other. So I know there's 2 of those open. There's one of those open. There's one of those open. No, there's 2 of those open. See the 2 of them? Again, the 2 thing. And 2 pop up above to let me see what's going on. And there's one of these, and this is the magnifier. So I'll kill the magnifier. Right, we'll talk about magnifiers at some other point. Now, common messages. All of these windows all respond to common messages. It used to be there was a whole bunch of common messages that let you move a window or resize a window or do all these sorts of things. But as Microsoft changed the rules and they get more and more into corner cases, most of that disappeared. There's still 2 though. If I press Alt and F4, let me just get rid of that. If I press Alt and F4, it kills a window that's got focus. And the current window that is open gets closed and focus goes to the next one. And if I press it, Alt F4 on it, it gets closed as well. And Alt F4 and Alt F4 and Alt F4, I'll keep going back and closing all these windows, which is useful. And the other one used to be Alt and Tab. And Alt and Tab would go from window to window to window to window, but they changed that. So nowadays, if I press Alt and Tab, like that, what pops up is this, a bar that shows me all the windows that I've got open so I can pick which one I want and go straight to it. Alt Tab, or delete that thing or do what I want with it. So there's what windows I've got open. So Alt and Tab and Alt and F4 are the only 2 of these that still exist. You have to recognize focus. You've always got a window that's got focus. One of the problems I see speaking to members, speaking to people on Zoom, trying to help folk with their computer over a Zoom link is they tend to get windows stacked on top of each other. That window I can get, it's now got, as soon as I touch the bar at the top, it's got focus. And if I move it over that window, I can no longer see that window. And I say, go to the other window, but how do I go to the other window? Well, the trick is to go down here and use the taskbar or use the Alt-Tab trick to get to the window that you want. The other thing that you should know about is, I'm going to open that Arduino window. I'll go to, while it's open, I'll go here, I'll go to this DCC page. I did open you, didn't I? Yes. Is if I use two windows side by side, like that, then I can flick between them. Oops, a daisy. There we go. Now, you watch very carefully at the top and you'll see the focus change to that window and to that window. And they're slightly overlapping, but I've got room here to work with both. I can go in here, read about something, and go in here and change it. And putting windows side by side like that is a great way of mucking about with windows. Yep. And the taskbar, again, always lets me see what's going on. There's one other trick in the taskbar. Right at the bottom right-hand side of the taskbar there, there's a button, and if I press it, everything disappears. And I can see my desktop because I want to go to my desktop for something. All right, and if I go back there, oh, it's a wee bit tricky to find, but it's there. There we go. There we are. Make things appear, make the whole screen appear and disappear with that little button down in the bottom right. Now I'm going to bring this up again to show you the standard anatomy of a window. This thing here is called the title bar. There's a menu bar. There's sometimes a status bar across the bottom. Those are all pretty well optional. There's these three buttons. The window can have three different states. It can be what's called normal. That's a normal window. It can be maximized, in which case it fills the screen and you can't see anything else round about it. Or it can be minimized, in which case it disappears down to the taskbar and no longer is visible. However, even though it's down at the taskbar, it's still running. The program's still doing whatever you've asked it to do. There's also that little kiss, which kisses it goodbye. I'll do that in a minute. If I move the cursor, and watch very carefully, as I move the cursor round about the edges, there, the cursor's now telling me that if I press the button, I can make the window bigger or smaller. There, it's telling me that if I touch the button, I can make it bigger or smaller. Right in the corner, if I touch the button, I can resize it in both directions at the same time. At the top, there should be a special cursor there that says if I press the button, I can move the whole window. But this being Microsoft, there's an exception to every rule. That's the exception to this rule. Every time you go somewhere else that you can do something to the window, the cursor will tell you, unless it's in the bar there, in which case the cursor stays the same. And finally, that little window, that little button there, you have to remember is a wee kiss. And you kiss it goodbye, and when you kiss it, it disappears. And that's enough on Windows to fry everybody's head for today.